You're listening to Cinema Red Pill. I'm Sharon.
I'm Timothy.
I'm Joel.
And we're back for another episode. It's been a while, but get used to the hiatuses. They may keep happening, but we still come back. Be sure we'll still come back. Yeah. And so we're back, and we wanted to first talk about Jordan Peele's Us.
Yeah.
We loved his first film, Get Out.
Yeah.
It was on our list for favorites for the end of the year, all of us that year.
10, yeah.
We really dug it, and then we talked about it, and it was really, really fun. I wonder if this is going to be as fun. And I'm combining this episode with Shyamalan. M. Night Shyamalan's Glass, because we talked about those two.
Yeah.
We talked about Jordan Peele's Get Out and M. Night Shyamalan's What was it called? Split.
Yeah.
So in this one we'll talk about Jordan Peele's Us and M. Night Shyamalan's Glass.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm hoping, Timothy, you can describe the film. Can you? The plot of the film. By this point, I hope that people have watched it. It's out on DVD. We're not going to hold back on spoilers because it has a whole no spoiler thing. See, we've waited this long. Me, I watched it in the cinema.
Man, yeah.
So, we've waited months. Please don't continue listening if you've not watched, because we're going to talk about it through and through. Timothy, tell us a bit about the plot of the film.
Okay, Us follows a family of four. The husband is Gabe, the lady Adelaide. They are played by Lupita Nyong'o and Winston Duke. And basically with their two kids, they go for like a family retreat to like the Bay Area, I think Santa Cruz, that's the area they were. And during that trip, Adelaide, who is the main character in the film, begins having this airy feeling about being in this place, and soon they are confronted by murderous doppelgangers. On the other side, basically they're called the Tethered. The Tethered. So these two families that are pretty much polar opposites of each other clash, and then we later find out that pretty much everyone in the area has also a doppelganger, and all their friends. Is another couple the wife is played by Elizabeth Moss. I never got their names, but we later find out that many other doppelgangers for basically the whole town, and these people have basically had their revolution and they have come to the surface to make themselves known. And the plot is basically Lupita as the main character trying to defend her family from their murderous doppelgangers.
Yeah, very well described. You've really impromptu. He's not reading anywhere. Yeah. But who was the last person to watch it? Joel, tell us. Yeah. Since it's super fresh in your mind, tell us what you thought of the film in general.
In general, like you said, Get Out was a phenomenal film. I really, really loved it. And this one was strange. I remember us asking you once what you thought about it, and you had a certain face. And I kind of understood it. Like by the end, like I understood the feeling, the specific feeling that you had.
Yeah.
Where I mean, sure, like as a surface like horror film, like if you take out all the hidden like fat underneath, it's like really well done.
Yeah.
Like just performances wise, like the kids, Lupita, like the whole family was amazing, super engaging. You get into it really quickly. And the way the story like shapes up is also good. It even has a surface level twist at the end, which are we able to talk about that now?
Talk about it now.
Yeah, where like how Timothy said, how the doppelgangers. So basically, they reveal like there's this whole thing with like clones, which was strange to me. Like they had sort of set us up for this supernatural thing. So that's where my mind was when it was rooted like in some sort of scientific kind of thing where you have these clones and they're tethered to like their real
above the surface.
Yeah, that was interesting. And then I like the whole twist of like Lupita had kind of been switched. And I like the whole House of Mirrors setup. Just having watched the trailer, the way the movie begins, the House of Mirrors is great. But just like overall, I think I know it, and it's strange, but I think I wanted this movie to be a little more heavy-handed.
Really?
with like some of its themes. I sort of now started thinking back to Get Out and how Get Out like has so much like meat going on. like as far as things like this movie, but it had that central theme of like race, which you could sort of latch on to and then start picking up these other little things along the way. This one just has all those things like scattered down, like really blink if you miss it. Like I what, like the only thing that I really got was the code switching thing, where what's his name, Winston Duke. I was calling him back with the whole thing. Like, so I knew him as, but like when Winston Duke, like just the way he talks, I find interesting. Like that sort of bougie, sort of black guy. Stereotype accent. And then like when he gets frightened by this dark family, like coming in, like start projecting like this gangster hood thing. I love that scene. Like that's all I picked up the entire movie. The rest of it I floated on surface level stuff with just like maybe I caught a bit of like the whole plastic surgery thing. So this is a movie I had to research afterwards. But I'll applaud it for being good enough for me to want to research.
That's true.
And like figure out like what was going on, and I guess we'll get into it like as the discussion goes along, like your thoughts. But I really liked the bigger themes that were at play, and I even liked that within that surface level twist of like Lupita being the doppelganger, there's like a much bigger meaning behind that it just blew my mind like when I finally figured it out. So this was a good movie. I think I prefer Get Out just simply because it was more heavy-handed and it's a very weird place to be. But yeah, this one I feel like I needed a little more blatant, like this is what it's about, as opposed to like it was like too clever, basically. But yeah, I mean, but this is great. I can't wait for the next Jordan Peele horror flick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tim, I watched it last, so you next.
Okay. As Joel said, I think this film, of course, it has some heavy themes. But I feel like this film is pretty much it's like compared to Get Out, it's pretty much a generic horror film because it has that kind of home invasion slasher movie thing going on. But then the thing that as I said, like you have to go do the research, was the thing about the tethered, because that's the only part which confused me. Like, because I understand that there are people who are like, there are more people like in the States who actually live underground, but now, like as I said, the science linking these people really didn't. Because how would they even? There's some parts, like some questions which are a bit logical, which, like I would say, how come the place was so clean? Where do they get the clothes if they have been abandoned? They look too okay to be an abandoned race underground for all those years. So those are some of the things which took me out of the film. But on the whole, I really enjoyed it because, first of all, it kind of this thing that bring about like dualities. Like I said, there's that mirror thing, reflections. Then there's that shot where they bring Peter sees like a fake spider. Then there's a real spider that comes out. They had that thing where they kept trying to show, they kept repeating that duality of things, and even where they characterize the characters, as you said, the family we see at the beginning is very proper, like kind of you get there like a very the portrait of a good American family basically. Then when we see the doppelgangers, they're pretty much the opposite. Because you see Winston Duke is a big guy, but he's like a bit of a softie, like people can yell at him what. And when he meets his doppelganger, he's just grunting. He doesn't have any words to say. You get, so there was that duality which I kind of picked up on, and maybe it took me to something about class. That's the thing I saw. You get, because maybe because you'd say Lupita after switching, she probably, like you could say she made it. And then now, like, there's that thing you say when you've made it, that like there's that elite thing, like the war between the classes. So probably if like you've left the bottom and you've gone up, sometimes you probably have this disdain for where you come from, or you don't want to go back there. So that's why I could see Lupita was pretty much being everything she can do to protect like her family and make sure they don't know about that dark secret of hers. So those are some of the things I picked up on, like class and the duality just of like the characters in the film, like these two different extremes. Like this other guy is scared of the dark, the sun. This other kid it's called Pluto, I think. Pluto. He has burns on his face. Like it's kind of like, that's something I see was trying to bring out. Like probably I said the duality of like the Americans, like there's the bougie, and then there's the ghetto or something of the sort. But I actually liked the film. as I told you, it's pretty much a generic film. It's not, I would say, as focused or like cerebral like Get Out. It's a generic film. It's just a horror film, but of course there is other interesting concepts they bring in.
Yeah.
But then the problem is, for me, some of them weren't really connecting, but as a whole, as a film, as an experience, I was engaged from the beginning. Probably I'd have to go and research more and understand, like, how was this whole tethered thing working? How come they were abandoned? Like, there are those holes. Like, if there was a part 2, maybe you'd understand that stuff.
Jesus, part 2.
Part
When would you?
Yeah, like now guys are out, their hands are tied across America. What are they going to do now? You get... It would be interesting to investigate.
I mean, but there was a long monologue about like how they got down there. This was like Lupita was voicing it the whole time.
Yeah, but I don't know. It felt also a bit like it wasn't as deep. Like I felt there were like holes in that aspect. But as the movie was progressing from beginning to end, I was fully engaged and I was enjoying it. But I still have more questions than answers at this point. You get but it was
I can just briefly add that I sort of found myself tuning out towards the end. Because it was a very like strong beginning and on like a prime level. Like this really worked for me as a horror film. I know I had issues with the other horror film. What was it on you guys like last
Hereditary?
Hereditary. Where like now I just saw like generic and not in a particularly good way. This one has legit freaked out.
It's a very effective horror.
Yeah,
it's effective.
the tethered kids were freaky as hell. The little girl.
Yeah.
Man, the smile was like a lot of the moments I just wanted to get out of that situation, and I really liked the kind of pacing and tension that it had. But I think towards the end, again, the issue was that on the surface, it's a generic thing. It does feel like we're going through the motions, even when they're explaining. I was like, it's like we're just sort of going through the motions. Then you have the big twist at the end. But otherwise, still a solid horror film.
Well, a bit of both of what you guys have said. I think I'm not as high as it as you guys, because I'm pure mid of the road. I liked a bunch of aspects about it. Some things I'm like, that's what I jam.
That's where you live.
Like I won't buy into this even if that. And let's see, I really, in terms of what you were talking about, I also really saw it as a movie more about class. Where I think that's why a lot of the black elements are not in it. And also, he also overpreached that thing, that this is not a black... what did they used to call that? A social thriller? Like, he would keep saying, this is not a social horror, this is pure horror. So I think he actually put an effort to take out the obviousness of the people as black people. And adding on the white family. Like, you're not on Twitter. He posts on Twitter.
I mean, because I went in it looking for those racial themes already, so. He
was quite vocal, like, it's not a social thriller, this is purely horror. So I also went in with that attitude. But also you need to I think the context of I'm not big on horror either. Like, it's not, it would be like in the bottom five genres if I made a list. But so with that, I kind of like that. I think because I could see it then, like the whole idea of you're kind of stepping on people in a way, and now they've come in your face, so you have to confront them. So confronting people who are lower class than you, like, that's scary. Like, even when you see, like, I even feel bad when I pass by poor people on the street. I'm like, look at me drinking Tusker. Like, you feel bad. So I like that, and I understand that feeling, and I felt it throughout. One of the things I'll say is, like, I watched it in the theater alone. Can you imagine? In that big theater of Nalia. It was amazing. But also that means that since my concentration is so high like that, there were some things that happened, like the way what I like you talked about is how he then uses very basic horror tropes, and I felt like the tethered came up too early.
In the story.
They showed up too early. I'm a sucker for setup. I really like it when you set me up, like, prepare me really good so that I'm happy with what you give me. I wasn't prepared enough. I felt like I hadn't had enough time with the family to even sympathize with them hard enough. So the tether showed up too soon for me. And then what makes it worse is he goes through that horror trope of now each of you has to escape. Then you overfeel the obviousness. Of course they're going to escape, these guys. So he really lost me on that bit, and I can't forgive him for it. So that's why I'm not 100. I'm middle of the road in the film, because that section did not please me at all. When it came to the end, like the film overall, I was even doubtful whether I was satisfied or not. Because like one of my things with film is my sense of feeling. Like I trust my feeling, and I didn't feel satisfaction or anger or sadness. Like it was just blah. So the Lupita twist didn't satisfy me in the end. So yeah, like pure middle of the road, because the film is so well made though. So that thing
that's a conflicting
it is
thing.
so well made. It is so well made, and even how you say it's clever. But one thing that I'll never forget about the movie, which why I stay middle even though there are many things, is the way it begins with the rabbits. That thing was riveting.
Yeah, the pull-out shot.
The pull-out shot with the rabbits and the soundtrack during that scene. I'm like, I'm in good hands. You will feel like this is a director who is doing some shit. I'm in good hands. I trust you from this point on. And I love that scene too much to say that I completely don't. Like, there's so many good things in there. There's so many. So these were little things which I remember, which are like an overall feeling coming out. Sometimes when I would sit and think about, but did I like that movie? Did I like that movie? Then I think of something nice and I'm like, oh yeah, I like the movie. So that's where I am with the film. Yeah. I think let's dig into the things that we really like, like the technical bits that we really, really liked. Yeah. Because I think one of the major ones is the music. Yeah. The soundtrack. The score is amazing. Yeah. It's quite amazing. Yeah. What other things did you really, really like about it?
I mean, now that you mentioned the rabbit, for me it was for me the cinematography was on point from. Because wait, was it the Funhouse Mirrors first, then the rabbit, or did we start on the rabbit?
No, it started purely on the rabbit.
Was it the rabbit?
I thought the rabbit.
It was the Funhouse, then they went to the beginning title credits, I think is when they
that's
the
rabbit.
I feel like the rabbits are the opening shot, then we go to the Funhouse.
Until they're strong in terms of like so atmosphere, strong. But I think we started.
They show with the family, the girl.
Then after that we get the rabbit.
Yeah, then when she sees the doppelganger and the
credits are still rolling on the rabbits though. Does he start rolling
until they start
at the rabbits?
Because like the whole Funhouse Mirror thing is just like the hook. But just I know there's something even just about. I really just enjoyed like the color palette of the film. Just like sepia tones. Just the beginning, like when they're just doing normal stuff, walking around. There's something about the way it's specifically framed and the colors. And the performances, for me, was really the cinematography and performances that was so strong. Little kids are always like a 50-50.
Those kids were all good. Which, may I take us back to our last episode?
Please. Yeah.
This reminded me of Barry of Kojo's kid, and that kid was a badass dress. Like, it wasn't
compared to this one. Look.
And like, sometimes kids can. And you feel bad because they're kids. And you're like, Bambi, you're not killing it. And that's it. That's just it. But these kids were amazing.
And just also the thought that they were playing these two roles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's insanity. Especially like that little boy.
Yeah.
Because at first I thought like, oh, they're trying to like minimize his stuff because maybe his range. But no, like he's the creepiest little kid like running on all fours and stuff.
And actually, Jordan Peele was saying that was one of the most interesting parts about making it, because they would shoot like the first parts with like the normal family, and you're like, "Are you guys bored? Okay, let's go to this now mode. Let's go to this other one. Now let's now do this other game." And it was like fun. They'd keep switching from character to character with during the shoot.
Very interesting.
Man.
That's really hilarious.
I really liked it.
Performance-wise, how did you feel about Lupita's performance?
It was refreshing, I think, because I haven't really watched, like the only Lupita movies I've watched, I think, are Queen of Katwe.
She always does an African accent.
Yeah.
And
I think like Jungle Book, I've seen like her voice acting work is good, but in terms of like live action, it's just that, and was it 12 Years a Slave?
There's that
Which I wasn't
movie she did with Liam
but
Neeson. There's some movie she did with
like-
Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
I
Why he
didn't
was
watch
like
Yeah,
that.
an
that's the
amateur.
one I didn't watch.
Non-stop.
Yeah, but it's just that with the Marvel movies, I always cut them some slack of they have to act within a certain sort of tone and stuff, so they can't always fully express themselves and stuff. So that one was, but like for me, it was refreshing, like having a central role, especially. I don't know if she has been in a central role.
This was her first lead.
Her first lead.
Yeah, but like as a lead, I really liked her. She had a very interesting energy. It wasn't like, I don't know, because there's always like leads are always sort of one note, especially in horror movies. Like, oh, I'm like the meek,
They just scream queens.
recluse,
basically.
yeah, or I'm like the joke. But like her, she was like normal person. She was just a normal person, normal
very,
mom,
very
and
good.
she had like some PTSD. And I liked how they built up her character of the flashbacks from when she's like a kid. I thought that was cut together like really well and came in at like the right time, because I usually hate flashbacks like as a tool, and yeah, I barely noticed them. Everything just sort of
Yeah.
flowed
Meshed into
really
each
well
other.
together. But yeah, like as a lead, I thought she was good. It's just that halfway mark. What you said also made me realize, like what you said about where he lost you, of like introducing a tether too early. Like after they escaped them the first time, I was like, okay, so now what is the movie? Because like I checked the time remaining, and I was
It's
like
like halfway.
it's like what else are we going to do to fill that gap before you get to that big twist and blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
you always know.
And it kind of felt like we just sort of repeated the exact same
We
setup. We're like split up, come
did.
together, split up, come together,
Yeah.
then move on, which was And then I thought the interesting thing they were trying to do was like, oh, Lupita is starting to go to the dark side or
Yeah.
something. So I
Oh
thought they were,
yeah, that's the thing.
I thought they're starting to play up the duality, because she started like granting and doing like
I think
weird
in
stuff,
them,
and
yeah.
she was like
Yeah.
murdering.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know, there's part of me I think that would have appreciated that. I don't know if it would have still worked with these themes, but I think I would have actually preferred that
to become a tether.
No. Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because until that point, I didn't know what the tethered like were. But we just knew that they had this psychic link
Connection.
with each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it happens that first time when she murders the last daughter of that kid, and then like in the forest, it was just, I don't know, it felt like it started to go through the motions. So when she looks at the kid, like a doppelganger kid in the forest, I was like, okay. And then again, she's chasing them like on the beach, like wants to kill like her doppelganger son. I was like, okay, like there's not much character stuff happening. We're
Yeah.
just sort of going through this, that. But she did her best. Like that was a story faulting. I feel like her character development just sort of hit this roadblock like really early, like midway through the thing, and then after that she had not much to do. She just became Ripley from Aliens, like badass mom. Now I'm going to murder everything.
I like the part where she tells him like, where he tries to tell them to overdo what. Then she's like, "You've been in control this entire time, and
You're not
nothing's
in-
gone
yeah.
wrong. Everything's gone wrong."
Yeah.
I like that.
I find it interesting how they used Winston Duke, because he's
Yeah.
a big guy,
I-
but
he's
usually
a
they would
nice
have made him like
guy.
they would have made him like the guy who's
it.
killing all these guys.
Yeah.
But they made him more like I
don't know,
liked it. It
I
was
liked
interesting.
him. I even like the white dad, the white dad who dies later. The way they make him like, I'm in my comfort
Comfort,
chair.
comfort. It's such a guy thing.
I don't know.
I got
It's
to be
so like I could see Winston Duke as a dad, and her nastiness. I really like one of the clever things I like that he did, which I didn't notice myself. Someone pointed it out, and I thought that was so brilliant. Is when she's talking to that madman white lady, and then she's like, I don't like doing that. Then she's like, what? Talking. So that definitely was a callback to how she did not really know how to talk,
But then also
which was really, really awesome.
I'd want to ask what happened now, like, because usually when we have like a funny voice in a movie, so like what Eddie Redmayne in Jupiter saying something.
That's
of the sort.
exactly what. Yeah.
Yes, so now I'm saying, like, what did you think about the voice? Because I found it a bit also off-putting. I feel she could have been menacing
Yeah.
without doing the voice. She could have actually. I feel she's that good an actor.
I thought it was perfectly creepy.
No, because why would she? What happened?
Yeah.
If I'd speak like that.
To be honest, I think like truthfully, and I'll come to terms with it. One day I hated that voice, but I'm so forgiving of Jordan Peele right now. I think I just sort of let a lot of things pass, but it was like way too goofy. And like, yeah, they sort of gave us an explanation for why her voice is like that, with the whole being choked out thing, but Eddie Redmayne vibes, man. It was
that voice didn't bother
I actually
me.
missed that point. So
It
when
even
the
scares
choked
me
eyes
when
were-
I hear the trailer again.
really like it just takes me out, makes me laugh. It like takes me out of the thing. Like for me, the grunts was scarier. Like the grunts that kid had.
But someone had to explain to us the plot.
True. and I guess they needed something.
They needed a difference between the two
Yeah.
to make her creepier than Lupita. Or else Lupita would just be talking to Lupita. Which wouldn't add up.
Yeah.
But the movie really has a lot of holes, which is another thing.
that's the thing
and
I
I
was
think
saying.
it's intentional, like, come out with more questions than answers. But at some point it's
Because
frustrating.
there's that shot with that guy, like early in the movie when Lupita is at the beach and someone bleeding,
Yeah.
and they only show him later when he's like holding hands with these people, but they don't even really explain who he is. You get those small parts that I feel if there was like a part 2 probably there would be more explanation. Now you focus solely on the tethered and you kind of like build this their mythology or something, just build up on it.
Yeah, but apparently that was some scarecrow imagery of some sort. I don't know, there's like, but the thing is that like, even the videos I watched and people like trying to grasp at straws also, and like what's this shot, what's this, and it's and it sort of makes sense when they explain it, but even when that as they're talking about it, they also admit like it's just like blindingly fast, just throwing in all these random references to all these little things everywhere. Like even the hands across America thing. I didn't know
in
there
the
was
beginning.
a whole story,
The
whole story
whole
around
story
that.
around it. I've said
Jesus.
about that.
So yeah, that's why I'm saying it's too clever, and that I didn't say that in a good way. Like it's too clever. Like over enjoying how intelligent it is as opposed to
No.
I'm thinking how usually when people don't explain to you shit, it's because there's barely any story. He's not explaining shit yet. There's too much story around the film.
yeah.
So I think it then becomes a bit frustrating.
No, but
It's when they just give you basic plot.
I would
Continue.
commend him for like maybe I would praise the film because it's like, as I said, it's a very generic horror film, but maybe it aspires to something. It's trying to say something. That kind of just puts it apart, and maybe you can give it that pass for all those. Because if not even you remove all that and just leave it like basic slasher, then you'd have a way worse movie. But those things kind of like add something small. Like you can't explain everything, but they add something to the mystique of the film and the story or the subject matter.
Yeah, I will actually give you that because I don't think he was setting out in his defense to even say anything in the first place.
He's really
Yeah,
just
yeah,
wanted
but really
to make
just-
a clever horror movie. And
He
he's
just had some
satisfied.
lofty ideas he could throw in.
Yeah, so it's
And even though like good references on the technical stuff, like that beach scene, because it's exactly like Jaws almost. Like if you actually watch it, it's very similar to that Jaws scene when the mom
she's
is
wearing
looking
a
for
Jaws
the
t-shirt.
So and even the beginning when they're driving, I think it's also mirrors shining. They're like those references to very many other films. So that's a cool thing to see. Like when you pick up on that one thing, like
I agree.
I really liked horror. Did you guys like the ballet scene? The cut to the ballet, like when Lupita
When I
is
was
really
explaining,
explaining
yes.
the plot. Did you like that scene technically? I liked it.
No,
I did like her
The
dancing.
music
It's
is
dancing,
especially-
dancing
The music
was
was
great.
very, very cool.
Yeah. I just say I also like the way that tethered moved, like that fight scene with
Yeah,
the Lupitas.
like they can dare
just the
did.
way she, like that whole backwards walk. That was some
Creepy.
creepy stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked it, like, and yeah, I guess even like there's not really any need to really over explain everything.
Yeah.
And you're right, in terms of rewatchability, I kind of want to rewatch it again, like having those other things I've researched at the back of my head and trying to figure out if I can follow that a train of thought within it. But yeah, it's an interesting film. He has challenged me. It's a challenging film.
That's true.
That's I think that's the word, because it's not bad. It's not. Yeah, it's really good film. Yes, Chan.
And it even actually like kind of it has even helped him establish himself even more because it was such a success and all that. Because that second movie, the second movie
good.
following
So
that
you're
up,
not a one-hit
like a
wonder.
one-hit wonder. So you're like, at least he has pulled this off. I'm sure he's going to do something
Yeah.
even better.
Yeah, because apparently that was like also just a general audience reactions were like, I like this movie, I'm not sure why. And I don't know if I picked everything, but I like it. And that's good enough. I mean, it's making bankable movies, bankable cerebral
Yes,
movies.
exactly,
That is
exactly.
Crazy.
That's what I like about.
Yeah.
I'll forgive any other flaws. Just
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he's doing that.
It's like giant. It's like a messy, big messy thing, which is good though.
Awesome. Do you have anything else?
We spoke about the score, right?
Yeah, the
You would
score
just
is
speak about
dope.
And I really like because that I got 5 on it, and when they
Got
actually
5
cut it up, was
on
even in the trailer, but
Yeah.
at the end,
Yeah.
when it gets really dark, that was just brilliant. Like just getting a song that's done, you chop it up like that. That was really great sampling, by the way.
Yeah.
I liked that.
It was.
It made the end, and as you said, the fight, she's walking back, and that music is playing. It was perfect.
Yeah, it was actually, and I just also like that she legitimately felt hard to kill. So even after she was dead, but then Lupita went the trouble of like have to break her neck completely. Like I felt that. I was like, I'm also not sure this thing is dead. But I guess also briefly, because like one running theory I found online, like what the movie was about that seemed to make the most sense in terms of the through line was like, it's about like the death of the American dream. And they sort of called back to all these little things. Let's talk about the plastic surgery when Winston Duke and the other guy pretend, the whole like materialism and like enough is never enough. And even just little things I miss, like the doppelganger of what was the white actress's
Elizabeth Moss?
Yeah. Now the Elizabeth Moss doppelganger was like also like trying to put herself up and it wasn't enough and started cutting her face. Like I'd just really gotten into the space of they're just doing creepy things because
I know.
because they're creepy. And that's it.
Yeah.
But I really liked that aspect and the way like that theory, what the theory built up to it, also the ending twist was that the fact that Lupita was one of those tethered people and that she was indistinguishable. Like the reality was indistinguishable. It was like this sort of emptiness, I guess, about the American dream because you have this perfect family, perfect everything. And also referencing how she talked to like her kids, saying like, everything's going to be the way it was. It wasn't necessary. It was more of like when put all these pieces of like the perfect picture back together again, and not necessarily like, I love you so much and blah blah blah. So it was just like that emptiness, that empty sort of chasing that dream or something. Yeah, and I found that interesting. Yeah, I think that's our best theory of one so far.
Dope. Yeah. I
that's
think
about
I've
it for
expressed
me.
everything I had. So that's Jordan Peele's Us. I guess it's obvious we all liked Get Out a lot more.
Oh yeah.
But this is a
But
good
still, it's a
follow-up
good follow-up.
and very much interesting to talk about and worth talking about, worth watching.
Yeah.
Then we'll see what he does next.
Yeah.
Awesome. So after this, you'll hear us talk about M. Night Shyamalan's Glass. Be ready for a different kind of conversation. Glass. M. Night Shyamalan's movie Glass. It should be available on the internet. That's all I'll say. Glass, if anyone doesn't know, is the third of a trilogy. It started in 2000, the year 2000,
2000.
with Unbreakable. Then 2016, the one most people watched actually, of recent, is Split with James McAvoy. Then Glass is the third one and maybe final one. You never know with these things.
Yeah, it's a final one.
Yeah. And Glass has three main characters. It has David Dunn and Mr. Glass, who were both introduced to us in Unbreakable. Then we have Kendall Wendell Crumb, stroke the Horde, who was introduced to us in 2016. Kevin Wendell Crumb has multiple personality disorder. David Dunn is super strong. He's unbreakable. And Mr. Glass is like glass. He breaks easily. He's fragile.
Super smart.
He's smart but fragile. So in Glass, all these three people are going to come together, and the story is that they go. A lady played by Sarah Paulson gets them and takes them to a psychiatric ward and tries to convince them. Not tries. She is very certain. She tells them, "You're not superheroes. You just think you are." Like something about if you think so, if you believed you are, you've gone past what makes a human being stop knowing they're not able to do it, go further because you already believe you are. She has this whole theory.
Yep.
It may not be bad, but she has this whole theory, and things happen after that. We're going to spoil. I don't have the energy.
Like I said, things happen after.
We'll talk about it. That's mostly the main premise of the story.
Yeah.
And let's talk about it. I think let me say early, because the tone of my voice says it. I'm not high on this movie, and I want to be clear on something. There's this thing when you haven't watched, we've talked about, it's a trilogy, and then people will be like, if someone will come up and say, I don't like the movie, they're like, it's because you haven't watched Unbreakable. I've done the work. And let me tell you, doing the work is not worth it. I think I would have hated it if I'd seen it, these films before. I would have hated it if I hadn't seen them before. So I genuinely think it doesn't matter if you've seen Unbreakable or Split. The movie can be bad for you.
What are your thoughts on Unbreakable?
I found it fine. I remember vividly. I wasn't high on it. I wasn't low on it. I found it fine.
Was Split
mildly interested. Even Split.
Was just fine.
I found it also fine. I was like, oh, Bambi, James McAvoy acted. That is how I came out of it. Like, the man acted. He did the personalities. That's mostly how I came out of it. The thing at the end, I think you'd be happy to see other people happy. Like, other people are happy that, it intertwines. It somehow becomes infectious. That you're like, oh, a third one. So they bring out the images. There's Mr. Glass. What? But I got infectious excitement out of it. But I didn't. I'm really not high on it. I was mostly bored in many of the scenes. I thought in a lot of the film he's explaining the arcs of how superhero movies work, and I found it lame and unnecessary, considering we really are on an influx of superhero movies. Like, a person who hasn't read a comic book knows how comic books work. My sister, I think, can really also but then he's very proudly deconstructing comic books, and I'm like, yo, this is lame. I think the scenes in the psychiatrist thing, I'm like, what is, like, no, I think I'm ranting.
No, keep going.
The scenes in the psychiatrist thing.
Yeah.
Sarah Paulson is there explaining, like, you're not superheroes. The two movies ahead of us went out of their way to leave no doubt that these people are special. You're just making Sarah Paulson look down for nothing. And then they bring out a twist. And I'm like, this is not even making it better. This is not making it better. And then they're like, oh, the government. I'm like, this is lame. Throughout the thing. And then my worst part. There's this thing where he has this thing like there's going to be an epic climax. And then the epic climax doesn't happen. Do you know, I would have found it clever if he did repeatedly he panned to that magazine shot so many times. I'm like, this is lame. And I really think this is a bad movie. Like, I would genuinely say this is a bad movie. Like, it's not even a good movie with some bad things. This is a straight up bad movie. Context doesn't matter. Context doesn't matter, you guys. I can't even believe it, but yeah, this is straight up bad.
Let me go before you go. Yeah, so I support everything.
Yeah,
I do.
I do.
Yeah, but let me just let me say that this film, Glass, like as you said, the truth is like this movie isn't as good as the other two parts. Like for some reason now, like when I had the original idea of like he was going to put these two worlds together and make Glass, I'd even preferred if he just did Glass like alone. If he had made a story of Glass and like, just done Glass, I would have probably preferred. It would have actually been Glass instead of like. Then there's that thing. That's actually the main thing that I hated. Is that whole thing of like these action set pieces which weren't going anywhere, and then you've been promised this big climax and it's not there. Like that was like I was actually trying to be engaged in the film. That's where the movie. That's why I left the movie. By the time they brought the twist, I was done. I was done. My God. Mainly, the thing I would want to point out though is like, of course, again, the main thing about that's really good because I also have good about the film is James McAvoy again. I love watching him again go through all those. Even there's that really cool scene where they keep hypnotizing him and he keeps changing characters.
He's
like
good.
he was really good. Like, I wish there was only him probably in the movie. Split 2.
Yeah, that's why you got like top billing at the end, the credits. Yeah.
Should have made Split 2. Anyway, those are my very few.
So well, tell us.
Those are very brief.
I know, like.
Yeah. Where to even begin? I'll begin by saying I agree with you on the climax. Because those are my feelings. After panning first at Osaka Tower, going to show the whole world, blah blah blah. Then we reach like that parking lot, like in the front. Then I keep remembering how the trailer like really overdwelt on it, and I checked the runtime. I was like, oh shit, this is the climax. This is our first twist. No, that was lame. That was really lame.
Very, very lame.
Okay, now let's backtrack again. Back like 2000, Unbreakable was like a novelty. It was nice as a one-off movie, by the way. And it was special because I think that was even before like Heroes, like a series came out. It was special because like until that time comic book movies were treated as just this really campy, crazy BS. So I think this was one of like the very first attempts to like really root it in the real world, even more so than like the X-Men did like early on in '99. But yeah, this one like really tried to root it in the real world, make it seem like plausible, mysterious. It had a cool vibe. It was done. I don't think it was overly like impactful. It like got like a cult following, I think, after its initial release. Then Split is also great, like as a one-off isolated movie, which is how almost everyone watched it until at the end you realize, oh shit, it happens in the same world. That works well, but I think it works also because it was a one-off movie. So I agree with you that when I had Glass, I wanted to watch a Glass movie.
Yes, it should have been a Glass.
I wanted I thought it would follow in that same vein of like heavy POV in Samuel L. Jackson, and I feel like you'd have brought like David Dunn and these guys like tail end of the movie, but like actually tell us like a Glass story, because like a Glass story starts happening in like the middle of the film, and the other whole part is like you're catching up with David Dunn and his kid, and they're doing this whole earpiece sidekick thing of like, oh, we're going on a walk, blah blah blah. That's some campy shit, like like I feel like Shyamalan just he really dipped his foot into the superhero world with this one. Whereas the other two, it was like mysterious, like, oh, this guy is crazy, are they what? You see, but here it was not just like blatant, oh, look at us, we have powers, and like everything's dandy. Then you go to the asylum, and Paulson's character, Jesus Christ. I think I should preface by saying like I had already had the whole element of like, well, this government thing is trying to keep superheroes a secret.
You knew it before you watched it.
Yeah, I didn't know all the details, but I knew that there's this government. So actually, as I thought that they're going to make it like a big thing from the very beginning, which they didn't, but they treated it as a twist. So for me, the way I watched the movie was seeing how Shyamalan is piecing these pieces together, for it to like build up that conclusion. It was really lame, because in terms of
in terms of even the arguments that she made, I was waiting for like some jaw-dropping like argument she would drop on these guys like make it real. But even like James McAvoy's like Patricia personality, the way she's like overconfident at first, and then also this is just the lamest like excuse ever. Like, oh, what if she's not even really saying it, just saying, but what if it's not real? And this babe cracks out at pressure. It's like, oh, the heart doesn't believe anymore. Like, what do you mean? I mean, even David Dunn's character is one that came the closest because they didn't draw too much, because you didn't get like his actual response. But I like that she tried to like create this whole thing of like, oh, he had this past trauma which you associate with a weakness, and he felt powerless, and now it's a strength, blah blah blah. So I like that brief flashback of his bullies like drowning him in a pool as like a moment of like temporary doubt. That made some sense, and it's because of just the way that was handled specifically.
Even how they got his son, like
that was my only. I like that scene. I like that scene of him seeing a strong guy, and I liked he could doubt, but
exactly.
Yeah,
but I feel like again, just take that, put it in Unbreakable 2 or something. Like just like these characters all just needed like their own space. Yeah. But like even lining them up together, it's like, who take your turns. Even the showdown stopped making sense, because at first you have like David Dunn and like McAvoy's character, they have like a boner for each other, like they see each other through the door, like, oh, we'll fucking kill you, what? I was like, when they lined up together, Dunn is like pretty chill. He's just like condemning, like, you're being psychos, what? But it's just Bruce Willis still being bored in like every movie.
He also really looks so bored.
He is bored. I don't know why he keeps acting, but he's so bored with everything. And then Glass, like the main event character, is just passive throughout. Sedated. And I could, I mean, you see that also coming from a mile away. Oh, he's not really sedated, or how did you get out of your room, blah blah blah. It's not a compelling thing, and you're wondering, okay, why has he been sitting there the whole time when he could? I almost feel like he could have left, because they make it seem like, oh, he needed maybe a stronger ally or whatever, but like his brains and the way they describe him as being, and the way he even dupes the guy that he murders, it's crazy the amount of plans and layers he has to everything. I feel like he'd have gotten out a long time ago. But just that, and even like, I guess let me just now also go to the twists. Why were there twists? They're just almost unnecessary. It's just, we have to throw a twist out there.
Like that whole last part shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
The whole, it was,
I already started.
I would have accepted the movie with just being drowned. I would have probably accepted.
I already started cringing. I already started cringing that first moment of like, when Kevin Wendell Crumb's dad, like everyone's reacting to his name. Even though I wasn't seeing the details, I was like, okay, so you probably going to tie him to like a bus crash, and they turn. It was just like so played out. And the thing is that as I'd almost like resigned, like, okay, this is a movie we're in now. At least give me my final showdown. You promised when Osaka Tower everyone is going to see. It's not there. And they use it just for like another twist of where like, oh, it was secretly a suicide mission, and it's just bullshit.
Have we ever collectively hated something like
no, that's the thing, is that I don't know how I feel about it. When I talk about it, there's a lot of hatred.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching it, it's like I don't want to hate it. And it's because I like Split and Unbreakable so much. And some Jackson's character of Glass in Unbreakable, again, I think he was already so well fleshed out in that movie. His origin story had been told.
That movie's climax is so good.
That was a delicious
perfect
twist.
You feel happy.
You
mean you're a comic book movie all along?
Exactly.
Like, yes.
Which is why it works. That's why that one works, and that's why Split also works, is because you don't know you're watching a comic book movie. But here you get in knowing.
They come telling us limited edition. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, it's an origin story.
Yeah. Oh yeah, let me. I didn't even know I was forgetting about that. That bullshit. The stuff he's talking about, like I remember, of course, from Unbreakable, his character was super into comic books and whatever, and saw them as their biographies for stuff that really happened. It wasn't heavily done in Unbreakable, but yeah, he has like monologue upon monologue, and they compress everything in like that ending scene, which is even worse. And even the way the mother is jazzing about it, and she's like taking it so seriously. Oh, you always told me about this thing called the showdown. It's like, lady, who doesn't know what a showdown is?
That thing,
and she's
I
just
felt
explaining
offended.
And there's a weird way how like they're fighting and throwing themselves around, but like the soldiers are there just standing, the family just watch, everyone is watching. This chick is like, move guys from this other side.
That makes exactly.
Like,
that didn't make any sense.
Yes.
People would have seen.
Yeah.
And for me, the thing is, like, the reason that Osaka thing would have worked better is because people would be seeing live. Because Shyamalan doesn't acknowledge that in this day and age, if you see that shit on a phone, you say it's fake.
That was one of the worst scenes.
Because he treated it as if people had never experienced the internet in their entire lives. Like, open this video and, oh my god, they're real. Fuck no.
No.
Anyone in today's, like, climate would just be like, nah, this is fake. And like nothing would have happened. Sam Jackson's entire plan would have just fallen flat on its face.
And then they make everyone in the airport, and the internet didn't work like that. It was it was so fake.
And I really hated that line, because after just disappointing us with that climax, Sam Jackson's like, this wasn't a showdown. It's an origin story. Like, fuck you. Just.
It might be like his second exile now again.
But I don't think that's that bad.
No, that's the thing, is that it's not like that crushing you.
Yes.
It's just disappointing.
Because like, okay, now say in comparison to Avatar: The Last Airbender,
No, that was straight trash, man.
this one is better than those two.
It's better, and that's better than that Will Smith movie. After
I don't think it's better than After Earth, actually.
really,
I think
it's
After
worse.
Earth is worse than After Earth.
should we watch After Earth? That is a dry bore, like a dry bore from beginning to end. When Will Smith like has his slow-mo entrance. What was his name even?
I didn't watch After Earth.
He had a derivative name, or Raider, or what? And like Jaden is hyping him, he was the baddest Marine in the Corps, blah. And that accent is also.
No, but at least I feel those stories were, they may have been bad or uninspired, but she told like a whole story. This one, as we have been pointing out, like there are so many holes that it just doesn't work.
No, this one he told his story. It was just BS.
It's shit.
But he told his story. He purposefully went out of his way to give us an anti-climax. He set up his own climax to fail by saying, "Oh, look at this big climax you could have, and now have this thing, and take your things and go. You've paid your money. It's fine."
So anyway, this is it with that.
Yeah.
We didn't like the movie, so thanks for listening. This is Cinema Radio. I'm Sharon.
I'm Timothy.
And Joel.
And bye.